Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was created in the relationship advice subreddit by a user named Hunty Bum. The post was made 9 months ago and is titled, I, 29F, am divorcing my husband, 28M, for suggesting an open marriage. Complicated feelings. Now, this post does start with an update/edit at the start, but we will go over that after we complete the initial post. My husband, 28M, and I, 29F, have been together for 9 years and married for 7. We had a not-so-classic shotgun wedding to give ourselves a better chance of receiving custody of his half-sister, 10F, when their mom suddenly passed away. Despite only being 20 and 21 years old, we did receive full legal custody over her absent father. This information isn't super relevant to the current situation, but it really sets the tone for our relationship, highlighting the sacrifices we made together and the things we each had to give up personally to raise this beautiful little girl. We don't have any children together, but his sister is now 17 and moved in with an older, more financially privileged aunt last year. Over the past year of this newfound alone time, I feel like we have flourished both personally and as a couple. We never fight, arguments are rare, and we are pretty good at coming to understandings and apologizing when necessary. Basically, I feel we have a pretty healthy relationship. We each do little things for each other. I receive flowers no less than 10 times a year. We go on little vacations together and are generally really good. I guess a bit of the spark was sputtering out for a while, but I feel like that's normal for a relationship as long as ours. Fast forward to this past October, my husband seems like he has been depressed, which is normal for this time of year because of the timing of losing both his mom and dad in different years around the same time. The holidays are tough for him, so I get it and try to be there for him. He had previously planned a attempt because of family issues before we met, so I take his mental health very seriously. He sits me down to have a serious conversation and starts by saying he wants to open up our relationship. I felt my heart drop to my stomach but stayed silent and let him talk. He doesn't go into why, he just jumps right into rules and explains how he wants me to find someone first before he starts looking for someone himself. When I asked him why, he couldn't explain it and fumbled his words. I asked him if he already had someone in mind for himself, and of course, he denied it. I couldn't help it. I definitely blew up. I was totally blindsided by this proposal. I slept on the couch after my outburst, and he didn't even try to come after me to explain anything, which kind of made me feel worse. I had never felt so unwanted in my life than in that moment. I have never given the impression that I was the kind of girl open to that kind of relationship. I will never judge anyone for wanting to live that kind of life. But it's just not for me. He went to work the next day, but I had the day off and really thought about my situation. After crying for hours, I came to the realization that this was the end of our marriage. Even suggesting an open marriage was a deal breaker for me, I realized. While he was still at work, I moved all his stuff out of our bedroom and into his sister's old room, which is technically a spare room now. He came home from work ready to talk it out. After discussing more of why he wants this, I've come to realize several things. He is way kinkier than he lets on and is disappointed with our bedroom life. He knows I'm not on the same level and doesn't want to push me past my boundaries to try things he knows I won't like. When I asked how he knows I won't like to try these new things, he explained they are an escalation of things he already knows I'm not down for, but won't go into specifics. He is also unhappy with how infrequently we have but has never really put in the effort to change anything regarding it. He just complained over and over and expected me to be ready to do the deed any minute of the day. He feels we have nothing in common now that his sister is gone. For context, he is more of an outdoorsy type, whereas I like to stay inside and read or play video games. I do venture out once in a while to do things he likes together and do genuinely enjoy them myself when I go, like kayaking and skiing. I do understand that it isn't as often as he would like though, because we got married so young, there are a lot of things neither of us really got to experience or try, mostly sexually. He is mourning the loss of his young 20s and never getting to sleep around and explore his kinks. Part of the rules he explained was that we wouldn't technically be sleeping around with whoever we wanted. He called it an open marriage, but described it more as polyamory, where we would each have a boyfriend or a girlfriend of our own that we went on dates with and did things together. Someone we were each allowed to love and be with An emotional connection was pivotal for him, which broke my heart to pieces. During our talk, I told him I would never be able to look at him the same. I would never be enough for him, and he was basically trying to get a pass for guilt-free cheating in my eyes. I told him it sounded like he wanted to be with someone else without ever leaving the comfort of his marriage, knowing he could date around and not worry if those relationships would fail because he could just come home to me. He tried denying these things, saying he wanted to explore himself but didn't want to lose me in the process. He tried getting me to agree to marriage counseling to talk about the open marriage concept. I told him just proposing an open marriage was grounds for divorce for me, and I wasn't willing to go to a counselor for them to gang up on me to try to bully me into trying it. I know in reality that never would have happened, but emotions were high at the moment, because I told him I could never see him the same and how badly this crushed any self-confidence I may have had. He doubled down. He said if we went back into a relationship and pretended this never happened, then he would end up cheating on me. For him, it was an open marriage or nothing. I chose nothing. Divorce papers were filed exactly 1 week later. He was very hurt, angry that I could jump right to divorce and kick him out of our bedroom so fast. But I refused to be a second choice or have to fight for his attention. I can't believe he is okay with the idea of another person being with me. Is he willing to just give me up to explore his options? I can't believe I wasted so much of my time with him, helping him heal his family and raise his sister. I feel completely used. Advice: did I overreact? Should I have waited longer before filing for divorce? Should I have just gone to marriage counseling, or was my gut instinct correct about the marriage being over? I still love and care about him, but my brain is screaming to be logical. We still live together while we are trying to figure out how to split everything, but now he is being super toxic and petty, saying hurtful things, and then begging for personal details about my life. I need to get out of this house. How do I cope with these complicated feelings? TLDR, my husband blindsided me with wanting an open marriage, so I moved him to our spare bedroom while he wasn't home and filed for divorce a week later. Although he didn't outright say it, I definitely get the impression that he found someone else he likes and just doesn't have the balls to break up with OP. I can understand if OP's husband has certain desires, but if you don't properly communicate your feelings, you can't expect your partner to magically know what you want. To me, it sounds exactly how OP said. The guy just wants to go out and have more sex and explore his kinks. There's nothing wrong with that inherently, but what he has to understand is if he wants to do that, he needs to give up his wife. You cannot have this marriage and go around fucking whoever you want. In my mind, the guy already has 1 foot out the door, and I doubt that this relationship is salvageable. Based on other information provided by OP, the two just seem way too different from each other. I find it funny how OP's husband gave OP an ultimatum, and when she made a decision, he got angry. The guy is just so lost. Just happily proceed with the divorce. OP's husband even explicitly shared that he would cheat if the two were to continue together. I'd rather cut my losses rather than stick with someone like this and later feel betrayed. User A Thing Under Your Bed said, "No, you did the right thing. For you. Honestly, good for you." Under this comment, user Hungry Blood 3949 said he wants her to find someone first so he can cheat with whoever he has his eye on. Then he doubles down and says it's an open relationship or nothing. She absolutely did the right thing. He used her to raise his sister, and now he wants to sow his wild oats. Let him. He doesn't deserve his lovely wife. Someday he'll realize what he lost, and by then it'll be too late. User Magic Carpet 5846 said, "You're a genuine queen, and I'm so damn impressed that someone who got married so young and has so little relationship experience was still able to see this shit man for the person he is. You are doing so good, and you're way ahead of the curve. You're going to be just fine and find someone who will worship you in the way you want and deserve." Most women in your position would have stayed and lost their dignity and their marriage. You know your worth. Never forget that. He'll realize he up and it will be too late. Do not for a second give him the satisfaction of thinking you think this man is at all worth degrading yourself for. He isn't. He proved that to you. And you and I both know he has someone in mind and probably has her waiting on the sidelines patiently until you give the go-ahead. User Minutebox3852 said, "He keeps asking for info on your personal life." There you go. You are correct. He wants to cheat fully and freely. Him pestering about your personal life now that you're technically split shows he didn't actually want you to do the same. He has a problem with you being with someone else. Treat him as a ghost you're waiting to exorcise. Do not engage with him anymore. Let the lawyer handle that. User Notorious Dad said, "You did just fine. You knew your boundaries were clear and he doubled down. Don't doubt yourself. Continue the divorce. If you see him take the initiative and do the work, you might consider R, but I think that you'll find the freedom inspiring as you take control of the situation. D or R. Not easy, but inspiring." User Lead Latara said, "No OP, you are so admirable and strong and you made the right decision. You deserve more. You are still so young and can find the right person for you. Your ex-husband is going to regret this most likely. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're right about everything, his real motivations. Calling him out on how he wanted the safety of the marriage as he goes out to cheat. You hit the nail on the head. He's been checked out and it's likely that he was with you for his sister primarily, so you're also having the right feelings in that regard. If he wanted you, he'd explore kink with you. If he wanted you, he'd encourage you to go outdoors with him and talk to you about it. If he wanted you, he'd approach you about spicing up your sex life to allow for more frequent sex. You come across as incredibly intuitive, compassionate, and intelligent. You got this, I believe in you wholeheartedly, and I'm so sorry this happened to you." As for the update, it says the following. "Hello everyone, I wanted to say thank you all for the support. As for the update, where do I even start? It has been over the required 90 days since I initially filed for divorce before it can be deemed official. I'm going to the courthouse tomorrow to file the remaining paperwork. We had an easy, uncontested divorce. We agreed on how to split everything, and he didn't even give me a hard time about taking our 2 cats, who are quite attached to me. He was always the spare human. I bought a small home for myself and the 2 cats and moved a few days ago. I won't lie, this whole process has been very tough for me emotionally. It was especially hard considering he was constantly hot and then cold. He would jump from name calling and trying to control who came over to our house to finding reasons to call me on the phone all day and joking around with me like nothing was wrong. I feel like I have emotional whiplash from the last 3 months of living with him while looking for a new place to live. At one point, he came home to find me eating a meal I had just cooked during a break from packing. It was pretty disorganized, but I was in the middle of doing multiple things at the same time. He saw the mess and started yelling at me for it, throwing my things around the kitchen. Another day, he texted me asking why I wasn't interested in where he had been spending his days off, and later sheepishly asked if he dropped the open marriage demand, would I ever consider trying again. Of course, I told him we were way past that, considering the multiple times he promised he would cheat on me if we didn't open the marriage. I also got tested for a possible STD and came back clean as a whistle. I don't think he was already cheating, but he is damned embarrassed about this whole thing. He wants me to tell people he cheated on me when they ask why we are getting divorced instead of telling the truth of the matter. I'm still not sure what the correct course of action is for that. He was made aware in advance that after I moved and the divorce was finalized, I would be going no contact. I did all the legwork to make this happen, including getting all divorce paperwork and 2023 taxes filed, separating all bills and bank accounts, hiding the address to my new home, blocking him on all social media, and I will even be changing my phone number once everything is finalized. He feels that my going no contact is vindictive. No matter what he has said and done to hurt me, I still have a lot of love for this man. He doesn't deserve it, I know, but that is exactly why I need to go no contact. It's for my own peace and to maintain some semblance of self-respect. I can't tell him that because I don't want to give him, or myself to be honest, any false hope that we could work things out. I have no plans to be with anyone else in the near or distant future. I just want to work on building my confidence and getting into a healthier mindset. I haven't gotten to counseling yet. Like many have suggested, I was in survival mode for the last 3 months so I could get out of that hellish situation. Now that I'm in my new house and getting unpacked, I'm sure I will be able to relax enough to start feeling better soon. And if I don't, I have every intention of seeking professional help. I have a huge support network between friends and family. Our shared friends were all on my side as well. Not that there is a true right or wrong in a situation like this, but one of his best friends telling him this was the biggest mistake of his life was incredibly validating. The only thing I regret from my relationship with him is staying as long as I did despite all the red flags I ignored throughout the years. I went into detail on some of them in the comments of the original post. All I know is that I'm feeling a mix of relief and grief. I just need some time to allow myself to heal. Out of our many conversations, he told me that 99% of open marriages fail because they were opened for failing marriages, and that since we had a great relationship, we would have been fine. I tried explaining to him that I learned from some of you that what he suggested was not an open marriage, but rather parallel polyamory, and it was the most difficult form of polyamory to achieve. He didn't care and was only focused on convincing me to work it out with him. For me, there is nothing to work out. He wants to be with someone else and to fall in love again. So I'm giving him the freedom to do that while gracefully stepping back. As many have said, you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. There isn't much more to say on the matter. I said I was leaving and I did it. Here's to hoping 2024 is my year. This next story was made in the Off My Chest subreddit by a user named Pumice Alice. It was made 2 months ago and is titled, "I'm leaving my BF because of a prenup. I'm leaving because my boyfriend asked me for a prenup. I'm 34F, breaking up with my boyfriend, 34M, because of a prenup. I've been with my boyfriend for about 2 years. Everything is going well and we love each other. We've been discussing marriage and he mentioned that he would not marry me without a prenup. We discussed this in detail and I did not like what he proposed. His family owns a lot of property and land and has substantial savings. After marriage, he wants me to move into one of the houses his parents own. I told him I am uncomfortable building a life and a family in a house I have no ownership in, and he didn't understand. I told him I'd prefer to rent a place together, or we could live temporarily in one of his parents' houses and look at property together, but he refused. He said he liked the houses his parents own and that he already owns. He said he would not buy other property and would not sell any of his property to buy one with me. He told me if I wanted to own property, I could save up money by living in one of these properties and invest in one myself. The problem is that he would be entitled to half if we divorce, since my purchase would happen after marriage. He told me I could pay his parents rent if I felt like I didn't belong on the property. He also suggested I could buy half of the house we live in from his parents. The problem is that I don't like the houses that he or his parents own. They also have a lot of stuff and I feel like there's no space for me. I want to look at houses, I want to pick the place I live in, and I want to do it with my partner. I've made this clear to him over and over, but he won't budge. He earns more than I do, and he has more assets than I do for sure. He made it clear he was afraid I was a gold digger and that he wants to protect himself and his family's assets from me, which I can understand. This whole situation has made me feel very weird. This topic has come up before and it has always made me feel very small. It makes me feel like all he cares about are his assets. It makes me feel like he wants me as long as I fit into the life he has already built and doesn't care to build one with me. It makes me feel like a gold digger. He has enough money to retire right now and live comfortably. I don't. He basically told me that whatever money he earns now, he can spend, so he won't be investing too much anymore. He expects our earnings and our savings after marriage to be split, which I feel uneasy about. I'm sure this is normal for some people. I'm sure other people would be happy to be with someone who is well off. I am not. I want someone beside me building a life with me, not someone who has built a life with his parents and wants me as long as I behave and fit into his life, which is how he's been making me feel. So I'm leaving him. I welcome opinions on this, but yeah, it's been too long that this has made me feel uneasy about our relationship. I'm protecting my peace and leaving him with all his houses and money. TLDR. My boyfriend and I are talking about marriage. He and his family are well off. He wants me to live in a house I don't own and doesn't want to look at houses with me. He wants half of post-prenup assets, so I'm leaving. After reading the post, I get the feeling that the issue here isn't even the prenup. It's more so a problem with OP's BF's personality and wants. I'm not against a prenup at all. In fact, I'm very likely to sign one myself. From what OP shared, it seemed like her BF had already built up a life that he wanted to stick to. He doesn't want to change his plans for his partner. It feels like he wants to be the dominant personality here and just needs someone to be a puppet. And OP seems to understand that. She says that she understands that her BF wants to protect his assets and is okay with that. But she doesn't like that she gets no say in any area in the relationship, which is totally understandable. The two are just too different with their goals and wants. For that reason, I think this breakup is totally justified on both ends. User YuckyWave3379 said, "This is a great move, you're doing the right thing. I'm usually team prenup, but you'd be getting screwed here, especially if you kept building wealth and your assets post-marriage and he just kicks back on what he already has. If you did split, he'd make out better than you despite already starting with one leg up. On top of that, he's not listening to what you want, your own place and space, and a life you build together. He just wants you to follow his plan. Yucky. User Curiosity60 said, I'm not sure such a one-sided prenup would even be enforceable, but since by the time a divorce happened, OP would be so disheartened and beaten down by being a powerless accessory to her husband and his family that it might not matter or help. This sounds like an invitation to a lifetime of financial abuse, devaluation, and control for OP. Fiancé cares nothing about OP's goals, values, needs, and vulnerabilities in life's major areas. He's got his locked in so tight that he never has to consider, much less compromise, to support OP's unique humanity, point of view, and need for autonomy. Under this comment, OP said the following: yes, I do feel like he wouldn't support me, which is what I want. His family is actually really sweet. I have a feeling his parents don't know about this situation, but I will talk to everyone when I leave, so I'll keep you all updated. User Thoughts in Turmoil said, you sound very grounded in this decision. Like, you've both felt it and thought about it through and through. If you have brought this up with him and he can't or won't see what you mean and doesn't make any effort to understand or meet you halfway, then I very much understand your decision. That isn't a partnership. That's someone bulldozing the other because they are utterly convinced that they have the best perspective, best opinion, have made the wisest choice, etc. It isn't even a discussion. That doesn't make you feel valuable or even human, to be honest. Like you, your feelings, opinions, and values basically don't exist. If no one hears you, do you even exist? User Upper Recognition 855 said, I think you're making the right call. He doesn't want to build a life with you, but he also doesn't want to share his life with you. You'd be taking all the risk in this arrangement, and if he's not willing to compromise in this area, it's probably just a taste of things to come. User No Name Brand 0 said, you're doing the right thing by leaving. His protecting his assets with a prenup isn't a problem. If I were him, I'd demand a prenup too. The problem is he thinks he can dictate all the future terms of your life and living arrangements and is too selfish to consider liquidating or spending money to purchase a marital home picked out by both of you. That meets both your likes and standards, that you can decorate and own as a couple, that belongs to both of you, that is owned by both of you. He sounds like an asinine pig, not a partner. He wants a bang maid to fit into his life on his terms. He has no interest in creating a loving home with an equal partnership. He just wants to basically keep you like a pet that services him. Absolutely, you're better off without him. Over a month later, OP gave us an update. So many things have happened. This is a bit of a rant, and I know I'm missing parts, but I'll try to cover the important bits. Before I start, here's some important context. I have a stable and rewarding career, and though I don't earn as much as he does, I am very happy with what I can afford. My parents have always taught me that women should be independent, and I've taken that to heart. I live below my means, which has allowed me to put aside money for savings and investments. A lot of comments have mentioned that I should take the free rent, and that it would somehow set me forward in life. But for me, giving up my sense of autonomy and control over my home, my safe space, is not worth the potential savings. I lived with my parents and saved aggressively until I was 30, so I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can comfortably afford rent or a mortgage by myself. Plus, he expected the living situation to be permanent. I would not move into a house owned by someone else just to save on rent. Would it be nice to save $2,000 a month? Sure. But most people pay rent, and I am not an exception. If I really wanted that, I could move back in with my parents. But again, autonomy is very important to me. Also, if he's this stubborn now, I don't see how this situation could improve later after I've already moved in. I could also counter the prenup and make it so all my accumulated assets stay mine. Or put in a clause that I'll be compensated for any children we have, or that I'd get alimony or at least have a roof over my head in case we divorce. But for me, that feels overly transactional. It also gives me the impression that I'm going to be living with a roommate who I sleep with and might have babies with, not a partner. I prefer to feel like we're in it together. He can keep what was his, but I want to build up what is ours. Also, if everything is completely split, it'll open up a new can of worms. How will our expenses be split if I'm working and he's just chilling? What happens when we have children? He has money saved for them, but will I get a say in how we spend that money? I know these can be worked out, but this is not the type of marriage I want. I can't predict everything that will happen, and I don't think I can capture it in a contract. And it's already been so heartbreaking for me, I don't want to go through more. Anyways, yada yada yada, I'll just say that it felt like I was being stripped of my autonomy, stonewalled, and treated like a hostile. Okay, on to updates. So I told him I needed to end this relationship. I appreciated and truly enjoyed my time with him, but our financial values and preferred married lifestyles just don't match. It was a quick and easy conversation, to be honest. I expected the breakup to be a bit of a process, not a one and done thing, since our lives overlap a lot. I'm also in contact with a lot of his family, so of course, during this whole time, a lot of them got involved, but blah blah. Not super relevant to updates. Talk with his parents. Okay, I love his parents. I had a great relationship with them. I would go over to their house, we would have food, chat, watch TV, and sometimes I would go to the parties they host without my ex if he was busy. A few days after my talk with my ex, I went over to say goodbye. I didn't know if the prenup was family enforced or not, so I kept it very general and mainly focused on how the situation made me feel and what I was looking for in a relationship. His parents had a shocked Pikachu face when I told them why I was leaving. I'm going to bullet point the rest. His parents really want grandbabies. However, my ex's younger brother and sister-in-law do not want kids. They were so happy when I came into their lives and found out I wanted kids. His parents created their wealth together, with his dad being the major breadwinner for most of their relationship. His mom was shocked at what he was offering me, saying these aren't the values he was raised with. She has been effectively retired for almost 15 years, and she said my ex's dad never made her feel uncomfortable because of the difference in earning potential. They told me that they built their assets for themselves and their children. They said that includes whoever their children decide to share their lives with. They have many properties. However, they also have enough investments that they can live off of those. They told me their plan was to sign over a house of our choosing as a wedding gift or sell a house and give us cash so we could buy a house we both wanted. As they got older, they planned to evenly divide their properties between my ex and his brother since they wouldn't want to manage the properties anymore and would live off their investments. My ex's mom said she would have made sure my name was on my ex's portion, especially since we wanted kids. They mentioned that investments would go directly into funds for grandkids after their passing. Maybe this is what my ex was referring to when he said his children would be set. Bit morbid though. My ex's mom told me that the mother of her grandbabies would be taken care of, and she wanted us to be on equal footing while raising a family. To be honest, this conversation was kind of like a weight off my chest. I always loved his family and never felt excluded, but the prenup talks left me confused and hurt. What they said fit with what I knew from my ex and them before. I'd be lying if I said I didn't start imagining this life. I talked to my ex again. I'll bullet point this too. Basically, he told me his dad had joked before about how he hoped he and his brother would not find gold diggers, and that's where that comment came from. He felt a responsibility to protect his parents' assets since he didn't feel entitled to them, so by extension, I wasn't entitled either. In his culture, sons carry on the family line, so he felt he had to keep his assets in the family line, which I'm not part of, but any sons we had would be. Most of the assets he's worried about are under his parents' names, and he had never asked for their opinion on what to do. He just did what he thought he should do. He also said he isn't that well off and that his assets shouldn't come between us. This is still confusing to me. Isn't this whole thing because he was well off and wanted to hold on to what he had and not create a shared lifestyle? I think maybe he meant he didn't own much and most things were actually under his parents' names. He felt he was punching above his weight with me and was scared I would leave him. He was afraid I was with him because of his finances, since that was the only thing he had more of, whereas he said I am intelligent, hardworking, beautiful, blah blah. He was scared about moving forward with the relationship, but instead of communicating, he became defensive. To me, it seems like he said and did things because he was feeling deeply insecure. He had made a couple of passing comments before about me being more beautiful than him or how I'm more hardworking, etc., but I had always taken them as compliments, not self-deprecating comments towards himself. He's such a caring, funny, and intelligent person, just in a different way than me. Also, I know he's not as confident as he comes across, but I had no idea that his insecurities ran this deep. He also apologized over and over for making me feel like an outsider to him and his parents and insisted that he wanted to share a life with me. He said his insecurities and fears got the best of him and he didn't handle it well. He had taken advantage of my patience and lashed out because he felt inadequate and scared. It broke my heart because I think all of this could have been avoided. We've been through this song and dance many times before, where he would feel some sort of way and then act out as he processed it. Until now, I always stayed through it and we we would move on, but it has never gone on for so long. I guess the issues we faced before were smaller compared to mapping out our whole lives. I've pushed him to seek individual counseling, and we've attended couples counseling together, but I can't force him to sit down and identify his emotions or employ the tools we were taught. The prenup conversation happened over a long period of time. He had so many chances to pump the brakes and reflect on what he was saying and simply just listen to me, but he didn't. He then sat in front of me saying that everything he said before was not what he meant. He said he would be happy to take care of me and our future kids. We could buy a house together or rent if I wanted to, because now he wasn't scared about creating a life together, completely opposite to everything he had been saying. But how unsettling is it that he seemed so completely comfortable and confident in the hurtful words he previously said and was okay with placing me in an unequal position in the relationship? Despite my continuously trying to articulate what I wanted and how he was making me feel, he didn't even consider my side over months. I know I have a good deal with what his parents are offering, and I know he and I get along super well, but I'm not marrying his parents. I can't have his mom with us during every argument or life decision we make. Thinking back, I can count on one hand the times we've run into issues, and he was able to address them without acting up. He's such a nice guy, but I can't be his garbage bin every time he needs to sort out his feelings. It's already worn me down. He's a grown man, he's intelligent and intuitive. He's had 2 years to learn how to communicate with me, and he's not. I honestly can't tell if what he said to me is genuine, coming from his parents, or coming from a fear of losing me. I could give him the benefit of the doubt again and move forward with the relationship as I've done in the past. But I'm tired. I think this is a fixable problem, but I also have not seen any improvement since we started dating. If anything, this prolonged experience has made me feel it's gotten worse. I will not make the mistake of investing in a man because of what he could be instead of who he is. If the last few months are a testament to how he handles stressful situations, I can only take things as they are and assume they won't change. This whole thing has left me feeling sour. I don't need too much, but I do expect to be treated with love and support, even during times of disagreement. I cannot just forget the feelings and words I felt and heard over the last couple of months. I can't just unhear and unknow that he is afraid I'm a gold digger. That was just one of many comments that really hurt me. I think life will have a lot more ups and downs, and I cannot imagine what kind of difficulties we'll face if this is how we communicate, even after identifying it and working on it in therapy. For these reasons, I'm still choosing to walk away. This is very different from leaving because of a prenup, but it is leaving nonetheless. To be honest, this hurts more. I know it will hurt for a while, but I pray I'll be avoiding heartache and complications in the future. Who knows? If it was meant to be, maybe we'll find our way back. For now, I've told him and his family I need space and time. I know that it seems like I'm giving up a lot, but of course, there are things I can't put in a post. I actually wrote the above quite early, but I didn't post it because it didn't feel like it was over. But now, after this time, I know it is. It's been tough, and it's only been a couple of months, but I'm sure I made the right call. It's tough watching everyone coupled up and having children, but it is what it is. I'm proud of myself for leaving, and I'm slowly healing. Thank you everyone for your comments and DMs. Sorry I couldn't get back to everyone, but I appreciate you all. User Jezebel103 said, I will not make the mistake of investing in a man because of what he could be instead of who he is. I wish more young women would have the insight and strength to see this and act on it. I applaud your wisdom. User Slight Suggestion 79 said, this isn't about the prenup. Sure, it's what broke the camel's back, but you yourself have to realize that if this is the way he acts, there is no way this marriage would last. Even you mentioned the issues you had before. The prenup was the icing on the cake. I'm glad you found that out before marrying him. User A Wind-Up Bird said, good job on paying attention to the red flags and being willing to walk away, even if it hurts, to save yourself greater heartache later. You made a great point about how you won't invest in a man because of who he could be rather than who he is. You're being smart. Too many people make the mistake of staying with someone for their potential. I see so many posts on Reddit by people who ignored these kinds of red flags, and then 10 years down the line and several children later, they're absolutely miserable and wonder why their partner won't change. User Firebird Writer said, I am proud of you for not being convinced to stay and for finding out that the prenup wasn't up to standard. The reality is, you describe a cycle of his increasingly manipulative and toxic behavior. The dude needs therapy and you deserve better. A prenup isn't supposed to be a we never share. It's supposed to be a plan for the future if things don't go according to plan. This includes if you get sick, for kids, and if you or he dies. It's not supposed to be now we never share. Did he miss the memo that stated that marital assets include all earnings for you both after you wed? Yes, he did. Did he forget the this is about security for the future for us both thing? Yes, he did. Reading this the moment he said you wouldn't be family despite marrying him and having his kids. He told you right then he does not have the values you need forever. I hope to wed someone you love and do a prenup for the right reasons versus his. Whatever the that was. User Broseph Heller said, sorry, am I the only one who finds his family's generous offer to be really weird and extremely sexist? So they're gifting you a house but only because you're having kids? Damn, I feel bad for his brother and wife. Fuck them, I guess, because they're not having kids. And his parents don't actually care about you. You're just a broodmare for their grandbabies. It would probably be a nightmare for grandparents to constantly try to exert control because they have money and pay for things. There's no way they don't hold that over your head anytime they want to see the grandkids or discipline them in a way you disagree with. And then only your sons would be considered the bloodline to inherit assets, not any daughters. Tells you everything you need to know about how they feel about you as a woman. They're telling you what you want to hear now, so you'll stay and have children. But as soon as you have a son, they won't give a about you. Or God forbid you only have girls, then you'll be a failure to them. Sorry, this whole thing is 50 shades of up. You dodged a huge bullet, OP.